In today's video, I'll be taking my 2010 Ford Crown Victoria that's been sitting in the woods for 10 years, making it road legal and driving it 500 miles to the biggest Crown Victoria meet of the year. So let's get into it.
King of the road.
And now I could finally introduce you to Project Oreo. If you didn't know, I quite literally pulled this car out of the woods where it had been sitting for 10 years. And it's got a couple things wrong with it. For the past 6 months, I've been slowly preparing this car and posting videos onto my shorts feed. But now is the time that I finally dig deep and actually get this car moving. In today's video, I'll be replacing the transmission, replacing the gasket underneath the intake manifold, and getting a new set of tires placed on. As you can see, I have the new transmission right here. So let's start and get this old transmission out. Let's get going.
I'm taking the wiring harness off of this transmission because the main connector was cut. I also resealed both ends of the transmission to make sure that it won't leak when it goes in.
Accurate representation of me with your mom last night.
This is going to be a really big job for me. This is my first time doing a transmission. I made sure that any bolt I even thought I would need to take off was absolutely drowned in penetrating oil. Combine the fact that it's a New England car and it's been setting for 10 years, there's a reason why I did that. A 500 foot-pound impact gun should be able to take these bolts off nice and fine, but absolutely nothing. But that's okay, I enlisted some help from its bigger brother. That's all it took to break it free so I could get it loose with a wrench, which actually fits.
There it goes. Drive shaft is officially out.
And then I started to get the exhaust off, and then the phone died.
Well, I'd say we had a pretty successful first day. Didn't really get too much done because I got to the shop way too late in the day, but I was able to get the drive shaft out and get the 2 catalytic converters undone. Just do not ask me how long it took. You don't want to know. As you might be able to tell, I am very dirty. I haven't been this dirty in a very long time. But tomorrow is a new day, so let's get moving. Well, we are now officially on day 2 of tearing this down. We're getting pretty far with the transmission. We're currently stuck on getting the cross brace out, which, if anybody knows, that's actually kind of difficult to do. We're also replacing the gasket underneath the intake manifold. We're probably also completely replacing the intake manifold, because this intake manifold has 107,000 miles on it, 8,000 idle hours. It's probably on its way out anyway. So here's a little story that not too many people know about Project Oreo. When I bought it all the way back in December of 2023. I went on vacation, I came back to come pick it up, and by the time I came to pick it up, the title was messed up. And because the title was messed up, I couldn't register it in my name yet. And so I had to drive this car home unregistered for around 50 miles, straight through New Hampshire. And well, that isn't quite the smartest idea. I was driving home and my buddy was behind me in my other car, and I decided, well, this car's been sitting in the woods for 10 years. It was absolutely covered in a bunch of gross stuff. So I'm like, you know what? Might as well. I'll go plug in the nearest car wash. The car wash it brought me to was directly in front of the Derry, New Hampshire police station. And we're sitting there, and my buddy Jack is behind me in the other car. And all of a sudden, the cruiser comes rolling out behind him. He's looking at me like, what is going on? He gets right close to my bumper to hide the fact that I don't have any plates on the car. I'm looking at him in the mirror like, just absolutely dumbfounded. Hey, the cop follows us, turns into the police station, and I go into the car wash. And as soon as we go to leave the car wash, the exact same thing happens. We get another cop waiting for us. But we never got pulled over. We made it home safe. Like I said, this car's been off of the road for literally 10 years. This inspection sticker expired in May of 2014. So I'm completely surprised. New Hampshire cops normally pay wicked close attention to inspection stickers. But now I'm going to keep on plugging away, get this intake manifold out, and get this transmission out.
To make it easier to get the intake manifold off, we took the entire wiper assembly off, and we found a giant rat's nest. And we found another one inside the air box. Taking this intake manifold off wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. I managed to do it without having to take the fuel rail apart, and without having to take the EGR tube off. All in all, when you have the liberty of taking the hood and the wiper assembly off, it isn't actually too bad of a job to do. It just hurts bending over the car to reach in to get everything.
Well, it's the end of another wonderful day. I was able to completely replace the intake manifold, and we made significant strides in getting the transmission out. Now all that's left to get the transmission out is to remove the main cross member that goes across the car and holds the transmission up, along with the last couple of bolts in the bell housing. Now I'd like to stress just how important it is to change your intake manifold when it's due. This intake manifold has been in this car for 14 years and it is absolutely destroyed. I'm lucky to have been given a replacement because factory Ford parts can get upwards to $750 and even non-OEM parts can get upwards to $300. So tomorrow, we're gonna focus on getting that transmission out. So I'll see you then. Well, it's the next morning, so let's see where we're at. The intake manifold is all put back together already. We're very close to getting this transmission out. I took all the lines off of it, and I took all the wiring harness off of it.
And so, while I waited for some help to arrive, I ended up replacing a bolt that I had broken during a previous Project Oreo update. I had already drilled out the old bolt, so all I had to do was put the new bolt in.
Now, it's the end of the third day, and I'll tell you, the longest part of the day was getting this freaking crossmember out. It took 3 hours just to get this out of the car, but we were able to get the old transmission out and get the new transmission up and bolted into the engine. Next is just the final reassembly where we're gonna have to put that brace back in, but that will be tomorrow's problem.
And tomorrow came, but unfortunately I didn't have too much footage from this day. But I did find out the best way to take these torque converter nuts off is to take a 3/8 inch breaker bar and to put a crow's foot on the end of it. It offsets it almost perfectly.
Well, it's the end of the fourth day, and I'm sorry that there wasn't as much film as there was in the previous days. But today was just go, 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 go. I managed to get everything back together. Tomorrow should be the day where I get to take this car, start it, and back right out of that garage door. It is now the 5th and hopefully last day of this project. All that's left is to top off the coolant and fill the transmission with some fluid. Hopefully we'll be able to back this out of the garage today. For this first start, I'm just gonna start it for a couple of seconds and then I'm gonna shut it off just to make sure that there's no leaks anywhere. Okay, so I asked around what that thunking could have been when the car started up. And it could possibly just be that the converter was locked up when it was getting put in, and that the idle actually made it unlock. So I'm gonna try starting it again. Okay, so it seems to start over real nice now. Gonna check all of our fluids again. And check for any new leaks. Don't see any. There is a little bit of an exhaust leak. That's because I don't think I have the correct gaskets and I definitely do not have the right hardware. But I'm gonna see if I could put this into gear now.
And here's the result. The car did go into gear, but for some reason the tires wouldn't spin freely. I had to give it a lot of extra gas just to get the tires to spin. I just thought that the transmission was low on fluid.
Okay.
And then my uncle came over and said, "Hey, it looks like your brakes are dragging." And after one look, wouldn't you know, he was right.
Well, I think we have found our issue.
And after changing the brakes over, it was finally time to see if that helped. Success! The transmission shifted into both reverse and drive, as well as second and first.
And with that, we are finally done with the transmission and intake manifold here with Project Oreo. And after 5 days, I am really proud to be able to back this out of the garage. You don't know just how much that makes me happy. And that's the end of that. Next, I have a mess to pick up. But the next time you see me, I'll be heading to the tire shop. See you then.
And that's the perfect segue to talk about our sponsor, Gene Guy's Used Auto and Truck Parts. They have been serving New England since 1969, and today they have provided us with the tires that we need. New car parts can be very expensive nowadays, especially when we're talking about major components like engines and transmissions. That's why I trust Gene Guys to sell quality used auto parts. In a previous video on this channel, I drove my 2002 Ford Crown Victoria Sport 900 miles to Michigan and upgraded it along the way. But what a lot of people don't know is that the engine and transmission in that car are both from Gene Guys, and that car hasn't given me any issues since. My two favorite things about Gene Guys is their used battery exchange and their used tires. Batteries only cost $25 when you exchange the old one, and they have a vast selection of used tires. So what are you waiting for? Click the link down below to find what you're looking for.
It is now the day before the trip, and I bring some very terrible news. Yesterday, I had Project Oreo AAA'd to my local shop to get an inspection sticker, and I felt as though that the car would pass inspection with flying colors. But as soon as they started to do the inspection, they realized two things. One, a giant rot hole inside the floorboards underneath the driver's side rear. That's not too much of an issue for me. However, the big thing that they did realize was a small fuel leak on the passenger side of the fuel tank. It's very common for fuel tanks to rust, especially on cars like this. Unfortunately, they didn't have the time to fix it themselves, so I drove it back to my house thinking that I could try and fix it. I bought some of this JB Weld tank weld, hoping that I could use this to seal up that gas leak just long enough for us to get back from New York. But as soon as I started taking things apart, the gas leak got worse and worse. And now this tank weld won't work. It brings me deep regret that I have to say that in today's video, we did not drive Project Oreo 500 miles to the biggest Crown Victoria meet. But you will still see a video of me driving my 2002 LX Sport to the biggest meet of the year. That will be somewhere up there once it finally gets posted. And so, to recuperate some of the money that I've put into Project Oreo, I will now be selling my stickers. I've been designing these stickers for quite a while now, and I've wanted to put them out, but I wanted to get a website to sell them on. Unfortunately, with the developments that have happened today, I'm going to have to rush it a little bit. So if you'd like to order some of these stickers, they're going to be $5 a piece. Just find me on Instagram and send me a direct message. I'd like to thank you all for watching this far into the video, and I'd like to thank Gene Guys for supplying us the tires that we were unfortunate enough to not be able to use. So with that being said, thank you and goodbye.
King of the road.